All right, I believe the time is 6:32 p.m. And so I will call to order the Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting. And so the first item is call it to order. A second item is conduct a public hearing regarding a request by the owner agent of the property situated in the city of Van Alstyne, County of Grayson, State of Texas, being described as Boyd's Addition, Lot 2, acres 0.455, a vacant lot just east of 249 Cobb Avenue for variances to the Van Alstyne Code of Ordinances, Section 46-73D in parentheses, height and area regulations to reduce the minimum building size from 1,800 square feet to under 1,000 square feet. The subject property is currently zoned single-family residential district -1, or in parentheses, SF1. And I'll start things off by saying that I have looked at the property. It's a very short street. It goes from Waco over toward the railroad tracks, and I believe everything on there is either a mobile home or a manufactured home, at least one of which is pretty small. And so I don't see this as an outrageous request. I think that possibly to build a larger home, an 1,800 square foot home, might do harm or reduce the property values of the neighbors there. And so that's all I'll say about this. Is there anyone that wants to speak to this? Yes, ma'am. Would you please, can you step up to the mic and we need your name?
Yes. My name is Teresa Gilson, and I own that property, and I'm just here if you need anything on it.
Okay. Did you have anything in particular to
No,
say?
I just have some pictures of another house that I have there, and they are real small, and that's what I did want to do, is the 1,800 or but when I split the property up, then it changed the zoning for it.
Okay, now, and other council members may have questions for you too, but is this going to be on a home built on a slab, or?
No, I'll probably move one in. I have moved a couple more. I moved the Stilts house in on 5, and then I moved the little one down there. It's not manufactured, but I moved that one down there beside it on the 3rd acre, so I want to do basically the same thing. I actually split that property up 6 years ago, but it didn't get to the county. It got to the city, but not to the county. So when I got ready to do something, then that's when I was informed that I had to go back and resurvey and get it back in order, and then it changed it to the new zoning, so now I'm requesting, can I do something smaller, because everything there is so small.
And I'm not sure it matters, but what sort of foundation is it? Is it going to be pier on beam? Or?
It will be. It'll actually just be whatever, the small one, since you went down to the small home right there to the west of it, it'll be like that, which is, it's on rock, and then it's on blocks.
And are you going to use a hardy plank, or what sort of side?
I don't really know that yet, because I probably will move something on like I moved that one. And that one's that way now. That one's kind of like a hardy plank next door, and it's under 800 square feet.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And there may be more questions for you.
I have a question. How far off of Highway 5 is this lot located?
It's at the very end by the railroad track, and that's probably
At the east end
yes.
of Cobb Street, not at Highway 5.
That's right.
And this is a house that you're going to move in?
Yes, I don't have that home yet, but I want to prepare for it, but I have to know about my zoning before I can.
Okay.
And I have already moved those other 2. So
And
they
you will
will-
check with the regulations before you...
Absolutely, that's why I'm here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you said that it was a bigger lot and you subdivided it?
It was almost an acre, but I subdivided it back in 2010, but it didn't follow through. It did go through to you all, but it did not get to the county. But I didn't know that until I got ready to do something recently.
Okay, and why are you wanting to ask us to change what the zoning would,
Because once I
change the size?
Because once I split it up, it threw me into the new regulations. I'm in the original town district now, and so that's not a problem, the size. But since it got split up, my understanding was from the city, girls at the office, that now I have to fit the new regulations of 1,800 zoning.
Correct, you have to fit the zoning.
Yes.
So, And the reason you don't want to fit the zoning is
Well,
why?
because it's mobile homes, there's probably, I don't know if anything's even over 900 square feet down there now. And I have a home right next door to that on a third of an acre that's less than 800 square feet. So if you sell it or if you keep it, nobody wants to put $200,000 home down there. Even the mobile homes are like 35 and 40 years old. Thank you.
Anything else from the crowd out there? Anyone want to make a public comment about this one? I have some public comments, but I don't think any of them have anything to do with this. These are for the regular council meeting, I believe. Are there any other questions from council? All right. Well, all right, so I'll call this public hearing to an end then, and then move on to the item for consideration, which is identical. It is item number 3. Consider and take any action necessary regarding the request by the owner agent of the property situated at the city of Van Alstyne, county of Grayson, state of Texas, being described as Boyd's Addition, Lot 2, acres 0.455, a vacant lot just east of 249 Cobb Avenue for variances to the Van Alstyne Code of Ordinances, section 46-73D in parentheses. Height and area regulations to reduce the minimum building size from 1,800 square feet to under 1,000 square feet. The subject property is currently zoned Single Family Residential District -1 or SF1 in parentheses. Is there a motion?
Mayor, this is under the P&Z Board of Adjustments, and we're to take action regarding this item for consideration while it's still under the P&Z?
I believe variances are up to the zoning board of adjustment.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
I'd like to make a motion that we grant the variance as requested.
All right, we have a motion to grant, and we have a second. All in favor? Or is there any discussion? I'm sorry. I'm
Yes,
supposed to
there
ask
should be
for
discussion. I constantly am going to remind this group that the reason these things come around, and it was highlighted for us in our package too, but these are about unnecessary hardship. And I see absolutely no demonstration of unnecessary hardship on any of this. We've put the zoning in place. Anything about dividing it out was done by the owner, and it doesn't matter what's there. We changed the zoning at that point. I see no demonstration that this caused any unnecessary hardship on the owner. We can't keep going around and doing these one-off little things because it just seems nice to do. This is not what was put forth in the zoning that was passed by the citizens. And we are not following the recommendations that are in here, and it does not meet the guidelines that we're supposed to be following.
I'd like to respond. I believe the changes in the zoning came about after the property was divided, after the mobile homes were moved in. Therefore, the existing ones are grandfathered in. And if we're talking about a small piece of that parcel of land, it would not make sense to put an 1,800 square foot building, which is 2 times the size of every other building that's on there. Because one, it would look awkward as heck, putting a brand new big house there amongst a bunch of mobile homes and a smaller one. And the fact that we're doing it right there, that's an isolated area that is not going to be expanded. And if that property was ever purchased to be developed, everything's going to be moved off of there anyway. So, I mean, it looks like everything that's on there is temporary. So this request is just making that better use of that property with a similar type building. That's where I think we would grant the variance.
And also, I do believe that it's part of the ordinance that if that if this property is to somehow do damage to or harm to the neighbors, then that's also something that the zoning board of adjustment can consider. Anyone else?
What damage are we talking about?
If she builds an 1,800 square foot house, as Mr. Jasker was just saying, then that would diminish the value of her neighbors' homes, I believe.
How could we putting a single-family residential home hurt a mobile home? I think it would be to the opposite. It doesn't make any sense. And I still say the spirit of what we're supposed to be doing is that we should be seeing a demonstration of financial hardship.
We can't agree.
I think it can't be. It's not supposed to be a financial hardship.
Hello? Okay.
I don't think that's what the issue is.
That's what's supposed to be demonstrated. I mean, that's what we're supposed to uphold, is that there's undue hardship.
Well, as Mr. Jasker said, this home, if she were to build an 1,800 square foot home, it would be so out of character with the rest of the neighborhood. And the rest of the neighborhood is there more or less temporarily. Those are not, they're mobile homes and manufactured.
And
That's
we have
what's
a
all
lot
around.
of other neighborhoods
sorry,
that are still just as small with the same size thing. We can't go around constantly saying, well, we think they're going to be temporary.
All right, let's not interrupt each other. But we did hear you. All right. Any more commentary? Nothing. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve this. All in favor? All right, we have 4 in favor, all opposed. We have 1 opposed, and so the motion carries. The variance is granted. All right. And so, as for the zoning board of adjustment, those are our only items except adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? It is unanimous. And so we'll move on now to the regular city council agenda.
Excuse me. May I ask if we're going to do a pledge of allegiance, and if so, would the American flag be on the correct side?
You know, with these special called meetings, we haven't been doing that, but we may do that. That was mentioned to me by a council member just a little while ago, and I think that would be a good idea. And so we'll include that on the agenda probably next time. I'll try to remember to make sure that those are on there. All right. Now, I'll try to keep these organized. We have one public comment form. It's not on the public comments aren't on the agenda, though we do intend to take them. But Mr. Darren Klum hasn't. Mr. Klum, you haven't stated on here what you want to talk about, but
Yeah,
you have your 3
discussion
minutes.
of the bike path. Right.
The bike path.
Okay.
And I also want to speak on the bike path.
All right.
May I speak, Mr. Mayor?
Well, it is time. Yes, all right. Item number 2 is a public hearing, conduct a public hearing regarding the certify local funding and support of the Van Alstyne Shared Use Path Phase 2. Yes, Mr. Plum will be next.
Thank you. You'll have to wait, Darren. This is an update. There was a notice of a public hearing in the Van Alstyne Leader. It was a little small, but it was in there Friday, September the 22nd. In case you missed it, it was there. And a financial pledge letter of $51,311 was received from the school. Also a letter of financial support from the CDC for $30,000. However, the city still has to pay $13,000 a year for maintenance and operations, plus their part. And it did not state if this $13,000 a year was for every phase or just for phase 2. There is a total match of $98,146 for this. and the LG cash match of $38,146 is required. I don't know who pays the cash match. The $38,146 is $26,909 for the construction cost and $11,236 for TxDOT administrative cost. In the Van Alstyne Leader on September the 15th, the city manager stated that the Phase 2 does appeal to parents and the school district, and the appeal is the ease of dropping students off at the new school. I can't see that connection. And the engineer stated that the district has responsibilities for the sidewalk. What this proposes is a 5-foot path on one side of the street and a 12-foot path on the other side of the street. And in the application it says, one of the mistakes is it says it's an unknown street. It's not, it's Williams Avenue. The mayor stated in the August 23rd newsletter that this would greatly improve our curbs. And I have all of the documentation to prove what I am saying. That this would help improve our curbs, gutters, and streets. This will not do that on Phase 2. He also stated that it would help us to get funding back in the budget, extend the path north of Blassingame to the new elementary school and to Palladium. I have not seen Palladium mentioned in any of the plans. The city received at a city council meeting a statement signed by 136 residents stating, "We, the undersigned citizens of Van Alstyne, Texas, do hereby request the city council, mayor, and city manager to please suspend any current plans for the proposed Van Alstyne shared use path until such time as the city's necessities have been met." That this was their request. And in the 2017 nomination form on page 2 and 3, it states that the SUP, which is the path, is fully supported by the citizens. Therefore, it is not correct in that we did get that petition. There have been so many changes to this path. What guarantees do we have that it will stay with what we vote for? You ask us not to look at the big picture. Well, it's just being fed one phase at a time. Placed in the application form, you placed the 2012 proposed local bike and pedestrian trail plan, which is incorrect to say the least. It stated in Phase 2 that it started on the east side of Highway 5 at Gray's Trail. Gray's Trail does not go on the east side of Highway 5. And that you go south on Gray's Trail and cross the VISD property to Miller Lane, and then to the Van Alstyne Administration Building. But Miller's Lane dead ends at the playground on Baldwin Street and doesn't connect until a block later north of the Van Alstyne School Administration Building. In that you put in there, Phase 3 starts at the end of Phase 1. Highway 5 goes east on Kincaid to Main Street, then turns south to Tolson. Actually, when you're on Kincaid and you cross the tracks east, you're already on Tolson Street. And that trail goes down the road to Knox Street and just stops. There's nothing there. In this that you have placed in this application, and this is what is placed in the application. Phase 4 starts near Grace Trail at the North Park and goes south to the west side of Highway 5. It will veer to the west onto North Dallas Street and continue south on North Dallas to the Van Alstyne Library on Cooper Street. Another phase will end at the corner of South Dallas and West Fulton Street. Phase 5 is at the corner of South Dallas and West Fulton. It will go east to Murphy Way and then Samaria Place and end at the Wilson McKinney Park. Phase 6 starts at the corner of South Dallas and West Fulton and goes south to Hines Street, east on Highway 5, south to Newport, west to the Van Alstyne Elementary School. The last sentence on this says, "This is also in the vicinity of Wilson McKinney Park." One is at the south end of town and the other is at the east end. I can't see that the south and the east are in the same vicinity of this town. If this is not important or true, why is it put in this application? Because I believe we have a credibility problem. I asked Jennifer to ask the engineer why this was, and he stated it was created based on the approved trail plan and that an updated plan will be established with the Parks Master Plan, which the Parks and Recreation Board is or will be working on. As chairman of the Parks and Recreation Board, I assure you, we have yet to work on a park master plan. In the mayor's notes, he stated, "Let me assure you that city planning for a pass down Dallas is not happening." And he said that we had some fear mongering going on. If this is not happening, why do you include this 2012 in the applications? And it also states there will be contributions towards city money from builders planning a home subdivision in the area of phase 2. The builders I am really not familiar with. So there are several questions that I have regarding this phase 2 of the shared youth path. Thank you.
I don't know whether I should address Mr. Baker or Lynn with a question. But
I have it all.
Now this could be planned phase by phase. There was an initial plan, is that right?
Yes.
All right. But of course, some of that, the plan for going down Dallas, that was abandoned. Am I correct about that?
At an earlier council meeting this year, that.
But it's included in the application that is present. This one.
All right. And so, the Dallas plan failing, is it true that if we wanted to continue with some momentum on this, that we needed another plan?
You'd need to find an alternate route to keep it going, yes.
Okay. And is that what phase 2 was really about?
Phase 2, yes. When TxDOT called and asked about the status, they were, because of the hurricane relief down in Houston, they delayed the final ratings for the bike trails. So they came back and asked us to clarify a few things on the current application. And when they said, they were talking about going down Dallas Street, we said, no, we don't have that availability. That's been disapproved by the council, so we're not going to do that. And they go, well, your application is complete. Is there a school? Or that's when we mentioned that the new elementary school was just off of the phase 1 trail. And they said, and so we sent this schematic that you see tonight there for that. So, and that, they were 100% support of that trail being there. So, I mean, that's.
Okay, and I won't pretend to be ignorant because I was there. I mean, you were on one phone, Frank and I were on another phone. We were talking with TxDOT, trying to come up with a new plan. And you had submitted this to TxDOT, and as you said, they liked the idea.
Right.
Right. Now, we don't know about phase 3 because we still haven't done that, but it's possible. I guess it's my thinking that we might like palladium. We don't know that yet. Now, the maintenance, is there going to be $31,000 in maintenance?
13 yearly.
13, okay.
It's what's in your form here. I did copy all of the information out of the 2017 nomination form that was in the packet given to all the council members. I can give you a page number of each one of these things.
Page 5 of 10.
Okay.
And that
Yes,
is
on page
roughly,
5.
that's roughly our annual budget for our senior center, is maintenance for this.
It's $12,000 for maintenance, $1,000 for operations, so it is $13,000 yearly. And that's what it says, maintenance and operations for us
Okay.
in this application.
I mean, that is estimated based on the construction cost and the length. Obviously, a new trail will not require, it's going to be a concrete trail. So there is no first few years of maintenance on that. This is to build that way.
How long is this, what is the useful length of this trail?
This will be 20 to 30 years is the average length of it.
When does maintenance kick in?
Usually about year 7 to 10.
Okay, so we're talking 10 to 20 years worth of maintenance at $13,000.
Again, that's just a formula TxDOT uses based on
I
traffic.
would assume they use that statistic based on
Yeah.
some sort of actual guesstimation. So we're talking 130 to 260,000 over the life.
Well, those are estimates.
Yeah.
We don't really know the cost of maintenance. I mean,
That's
it's
what
not
you've
very-
done in the application, Mayor. I've got a problem with you put these things in there, you tell us to believe it, then you tell us not to believe it, it's an estimation, it's not a reality. The point we're trying to make is everything keeps changing. This is, the third time around, I think, in 2 months, and it's changed again. More information coming in. Now we're being told, well, maybe these are just estimates and they're not for real. This is,
Well, I
No
think
fact.
that's fair to say, though. Those are estimates.
They're estimates based on historical
Statistics.
TxDOT data.
All right.
So we don't know the actual cost.
No, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Pump.
My name's Darren Klum. That's not even on. Anyway, I live at 230 East Memphis. And I guess my question on the bike trail is, the last time I heard about this, the council voted it down. And it's been changed twice since you voted it down without one public hearing. I guess what I'm having a hard time with as a citizen is, there's got to be protocols, right, for getting this stuff through. And I guess what I don't understand is you're asking us to trust you as a council. And I guess the council is asking us to trust the city management. And what I've seen is that really the mayor, our city personnel willfully disobeyed your exact request, which was not to go forward with this. So I'm okay with going forward, guys. I mean, I'm not against the bike trail. But what I am against is basically having no trust in you guys or these guys to do what we asked. And really we're why you're here. And I guess the problem I have is that this thing keeps surfacing without, it's been changed twice and there wasn't a public hearing on where it's going or what it's doing. Is that right? Am I wrong? Then I guess my problem is, I understand they're under time constraints to get something into TxDOT and keep this process moving. Guys, you can do that. As a council, you can do that. As a city, you can do that. But you cannot basically subvert or use subversive means to go around the procedures that are in place. And that's for us to get our say. And I don't think that's right. That's all I've got to say.
Mr. Mayor. All right, and next I have Mr. Clint Murphy.
Can I ask a question on that bill?
Well, I have these
I know
folks
you're
I'm
trying
supposed
on
to
time, but I
call.
bet you got just one moment if I could.
I'm going to call Clint Murphy.
Okay, thank you.
I've been listening to all, what's been going on for the last 2 or 3 months about the bike trail.
Would you please come forward to the microphone?
I don't like to speak on the microphone.
Yeah, well, let's do, but come on, Clint.
Let me just talk about it. I don't hear anything about what's going on with the new city hall where it's in I have no idea. I haven't heard a word in a long time about it. Next thing is the Public Works building. Are we gonna move out to the 3133 or whatever it is out there eventually? Is there any plans on building a building? I never hear anything about that either. Everything I hear about is on the east side of 75. Where are we gonna grow on the east side of 75? We can't. We gotta go south or we gotta go north. Looks like everything's gonna go west. I hear nothing about any growth on the west side. There's no bike trails over there. I don't know why, but there's not. Nobody's spoke to anything. I guess that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Karen Toiber.
Karen.
Hello, hello.
Is it working now? Do I need a microphone?
No.
Normally not. Okay. Hi, I'm Karen Toiber, and I am speaking against the shared use path, Phase 2, and any further phases. And I have some letters signed, or a letter signed by several of the citizens, and it's saying that, dear council members, how many times do we have to tell you that we don't want to spend our sales tax money on a shared use path, which is an SUP. We have signed requests that you suspend any current plans, and we've shown up at council meetings and spoken up against this SUP. Our voices have been ignored by the city staff and the mayor. We do not think the SUP serves the best interest of all the citizens of Van Alstyne. We want the council to withdraw from this current revised plan and any future plans for building a path through Van Alstyne. And there was when I was on the TAP, we had a unified planning work program for fiscal years 2014 to 2015. And in that, it stated that the bicycle pedestrian path was to focus on two core cities, Denison and Sherman. There was nothing in there about Van Alstyne with a population of 3,046 citizens. We rejected Phase 2 of the plan that was to go down Dallas Street, and without notification to we the people or to you the council members, the city revised Phase 2. There were no notices posted, there were no public hearings as required, there were no letters of support from citizens or citizen organizations. In fact, you, the council, did not even get a copy of the application at the last meeting. All you got was a map and a resolution that you were expected to approve. We believe that this revised plan is a placeholder, and it is just a matter of time until you begin again asking to sign a resolution for future phases of the path. We ask you to defund it, void it, stop it, and that is our request to you, the council.
Now I have another card, but this is on another issue. Mr. William Allman, there is an item coming up that you'll want to address. Meanwhile, sir, yes, sir, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, councilmen and councilwomen. You're looking sharp tonight. Thank you for your due diligence. Mr. Baker, thank you for always being here and speaking for me. Last month, when I stood back there, I told you that out of the book of Proverbs, if you'll write the vision down and make it plain before these people, they'll understand it and probably get behind you, did I not? And tonight, I keep hearing back and forth how you kind of not written the vision good for everyone to see, but just kind of put it on the back of the paper and put it on your own notebooks, right? Okay. we still don't have the money straightened out. Everybody's kind of in awe about things. So I'm kind of getting an idea, as I'm sure a lot of these folks are, how things are being run. I'm a little bit upset about it. It doesn't kind of fit with my spirit. So I have one question for you, City Council. Are you going to hold them accountable? That's yes or no. You are. Because we elected you all. Okay. I have one more question, and then I'll go take my seat. Mr. Baker, may I address you, sir?
Sure.
I got a rumor on Saturday that you turned in 90 hours of overtime request pay for your trip down to the hurricane deal.
I don't have documents in front of me. That's probably somewhere correct.
That is somewhere correct?
Probably.
And your salary, you are paid salary?
I'm a salaried employee as a city employee. As a state asset, it's a different issue.
How many thousands of dollars would that be?
That's a good question.
Oh, I'm sure you've got a pretty round figure. You did it.
Sure. Are we going to wade off into personnel issues? Is that what we're doing?
Well, I'm just asking you a question as a
I
concerned
understand,
citizen
and I'm
who
trying to
finds that no one can balance a budget on a bike trail.
Sure. And I'm trying to give you an answer, and the thing is, it gets fully reimbursed by the state, whatever the numbers are. And it's true and correct, and it's what everybody that's deployed as a state asset is supposed to turn in.
George Bush would have said it like this. It's kind of fuzzy mouth.
Okay. That's,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
On this issue, we did run out of cards, and so is there anyone else that wants to make a public comment on this issue? No? Okay. Sir.
I didn't know nothing about this 90 hours that you're talking about, but I don't understand how you all, anybody on the county approves something, you go down for the state don't pay you. You can't pay him. We can't pay him. And as far as I'm concerned, I want to drop all the pay because I want to know, once somebody tell me, what is this going to cost the citizens down off in this bike trail per year? Do anybody know about what it's going to cost?
I think that the important thing for most of us
No, the
is
important thing is M-O-N-E-Y.
Sir, you asked me a question.
Okay.
All right. I think the important thing is that the state is going to pay, TxDOT, through federal funds, is going to pay 80% of this. And so we only have to pay the remaining 20. And in areas where there are no curbs and gutters, this would put in curbs and storm gutters, and it would be an improvement for Van Alstyne. Now, Dallas Street didn't want that, and that's okay. I'm all right with that. But there are many areas that would benefit from curbs and gutters rather than bar ditches and culverts that are not placed well. And so that's it. It's in order to develop Van Alstyne. This is a good way to get some money from the state or from the federal government.
Mr. Patterson, were you referring to the bicycle trail?
Me?
Yes.
Yes. I don't know bicycle trail. I want some of these roads and stuff around here fixed. And we don't have money to fix roads like that. This guy over here, you have, where the old lumberyard used to be, remember when it was raining? That guy had at least 4 or 5 inches of rut trying to get in his driveway. And I want to know another thing, is that right there dedicated street?
I think we may be getting off track, and I think there's a councilman that has a comment.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
All right. To answer your question directly, because I closely align with what Lynn does, because that's what I work with engineers on a regular basis. This is kind of in my wheelhouse. But to answer your question directly, no. Nobody knows how much the maintenance is going to cost on a bike trail. Nobody knows, and to be honest with you, nobody knows how much the bike trail is going to cost at the end result. The bike trail, and y'all heard me say this on more and more occasions, it's not something that's going to happen tomorrow or next month or next year. It's a 4-year process. And we don't know what it's going to look like. The only piece we know what it's gonna look like, and we still need to know how much it's gonna cost, because it's going out for bid right now, is phase one. So, what the resolution is an opportunity to build and possibly collect money from the state of Texas. The school district has pledged $50-something thousand, so out of the VA pocket, roughly 12 to 17, based on bids and bonds and everything else, 30-something.
17 to 38.
17 to 38, including a $20,000 contingency that would or would not be spent. So, yes, the whole thing is up and down. The whole project is up and down. Now, we could approve the mayor to sign an intent. If we can't come up with $17,000, we don't have to do it. We don't, the state can come back and say, you know what? We spent too much money in Houston. We're not doing this anymore. This is not, it's not something that's gonna happen overnight. It's just a chance for our town to have maybe the opportunity to go forward. Even if we get all the way to the church step, even if we're committed and everything else, and our budget, and maybe in 4 years, there ain't none of these same people up there. In 4 years, maybe a totally different group of people. And they walk up there and they say, you know what, TxDOT came in and said, hey, you know what, we're ready to go. And that group says, no, I'm sorry, we need the money to build a new city hall. We're not gonna do a bike trail. We still don't even have to do a tent. It's just all it is, all this has been, is an opportunity. And to address Teddy Ann's comments, they ask that you put something forward. They ask that you put something on paper to send to them that you kind of have an idea of where you might want to go. Yes, sir.
I served on this same city council all 20 years.
Yes, sir.
And who I answer to is the people out here. The people out here has told y'all to drop the phases right now. And y'all haven't done it. And then Frank keeps on, and him and the engineers and all that just keep on doing it. You know, a person, I guarantee you, that's the man served right there with me. We told the city administrator that time, do something, just like paying this lady her money. He didn't pay it on time. That man's supposed to be fired, I don't know.
Well, we're talking about the bike path.
Yes, sir. Bike path, let's fix some stuff here in town before we can see it. Bike path ain't, I mean, we don't need that bike path. Sir.
No, I understand, and there are people in this room who do not want the bike path. But there's also people that are not inside this room that the council represents that have called me and said, hey, Lee, we would like the bike path.
Why come they don't come through just like we do?
I do not know, sir.
Lee, so what you've got on the paper and what you've got on the application does or does not, or is not, any sort of permanent design?
It is not.
It is not, okay.
Wait a minute,
It can,
Lee, read the resolution where it states, just a minute till I find it.
Yeah, see, what I would like to see.
It
council
states,
do,
the
Lee,
resolution states that the city adopts this resolution approving the submission of the project nomination and the support and funding of the project should it receive federal funds.
but that's just,
This is the same conversation we had last time we were together, except I was on a computer screen. And I said, once again, this isn't as much about the project. We might have been more amenable to it, but we have been misled, misinformation. It's just constant. I would not authorize them to sign anything at this point.
Yeah,
It is a lack of trust.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. To me, Lee, it's kind of sad because I think the project
Mr. Klum,
is
I'm sorry,
valuable.
you weren't recognized.
Oh,
Hang on for just a second. Please don't talk over me. Now, the plans have changed. There have been changes in the plan. One of them we had to come up with pretty quickly because Dallas Street wasn't going to go. That was okay. But this is an opportunity, it was okay. It's all right that Dallas Street didn't want the project. I mean, we heard a lot from Dallas Street residents, they didn't want it, and so that's not going to happen. But it's a chance, as Mr. Thomas said, to get funding that we wouldn't have gotten otherwise.
Mayor, I'm okay with you going after the funding. I'm not okay with you
Mr.
subverting the
Plum,
process.
I did not recognize you. If you're going to talk
You
over me.
recognized him
then you need
earlier,
to- you
actually,
need to
and I
leave.
interrupted him. And so you took ahead
Go ahead.
of him.
All right. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the problem isn't, fellas, to me, the problem's not the bike path. I mean, I think that, listen, I think it's a great idea to get free money from the state if you can get it. What I don't like is that the way you go about it is doing whatever you want, regardless of what this council and these people say. And I'm sorry, Mayor, you're not just the mayor. And those people are the employees of this council, and you
Okay,
don't
and-
act like it.
All right. You know what, the lack of information to the council, I take complete responsibility for that. That is not, that wasn't our engineer, that wasn't Frank. I was the one who was in the room. I could have informed council. It was a decision that we made quickly because we wanted to stay in the game. And that's all there is to that.
You do not have those powers, Mayor.
I claim
No, you don't have the
responsibility.
power.
No, sir,
You don't have that power,
The
sir.
CEO of this city is the city manager, so it's nice of you to throw yourself under the bus, but you did not have the right to make that decision.
No.
Will you resign?
And I remember back years ago, all the marathons was up and beating kids' babies.
All right.
You've been taking over ever since you've been here. You can't see I've been to. You keep your mouth closed, let the city council.
Is there anyone else that wants to raise their hand, be recognized, and speak? Okay. I see no hands. All right.
Mr. Mayor,
Now, this-
on the consent agenda, I would like to have number 3 moved to the regular non-consent agenda, please.
I agree. And so there is no consent agenda. There was only one item. It was item 3, but it doesn't really belong on a consent agenda. It's something that should be discussed. And so I'm going to move on to our regular agenda. And the first item is item number 3. Consider and take any action regarding an ordinance amending Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 3, Officers and Employees, Division 3, City Clerk, Section 2-99, Duties and Authority, Paragraph B, to clarify/amend the duties of the city clerk. And so,
I'll make a motion that we amend as the city attorney has put together for us. It's very unfortunate that we had to waste our time having this job description amended for something that we fully expected that our city clerk do.
I second that motion.
we have a motion and a second. I have discussion if no one else does.
I've
Yes,
got
I
one.
understand.
Okay.
I've got one. It is my understanding this new resolution job description says that she shall attend all meetings. What if an extenuating circumstance comes up? She has a sick child, she or herself is sick or anything like that. Is her job in jeopardy at that point, or can we allow for any sort of extenuating circumstance in that?
I think in an emergency, it would be understood that she could designate a representative.
Can we specify that? Because there may be an instance 5, 10, 15 years down the road where we have a different council that may hold or do a different standard, reading that verbiage differently. So I just want to make sure if we are under that understanding, that we have that articulated in there.
And I would like to hear a secondary motion that adds a part, let's see, it'll be a Part D that says pretty much that, or words to the effect that she may delegate her duties to a deputy clerk. upon the permission of the city manager. And then, if there is an extenuating circumstance, or if she's just spread too thin, and she has to choose between this duty or that duty, then one of her deputies can fulfill that job.
I think this should only be in an emergency. However, that will have to be made by the person who made the motion to begin with.
All right. I'm asking for a secondary motion, if anyone wants to make a secondary motion.
How do you make a secondary motion?
It's not difficult.
Okay, that was just too smart.
That was extremely rude and unhelpful, but let's see if somebody else would not like to be polite.
I'll make a secondary motion, Mayor, that in an emergency, the city clerk/secretary may delegate the duties to a deputy clerk with the approval of the city manager, but only in an emergency.
All right. So we have, are there any other motions? Okay, we have a second. All right, so as to the secondary motion, which we have to handle first now, is we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
I thought we had discussion.
Oh, yes, I thought we had. Go ahead.
I just wanted to seek some clarification in case questions come up in implementing the new ordinance. It does say all meetings, not just regular meetings. If there are circumstances where the city clerk has already had a vacation approved using the process under the personnel manual and a special meeting is called or something like that, do you expect the vacation request to be revoked or in those types of situations?
Does it not address that at all?
Well, if you don't address it, then how it would work is that she's still eligible to be off for being sick and or vacation time in the same manner as all other employees under the personnel manual.
I would like a ruling in that we have a motion and a second, then we have a secondary motion and a second. Are you suggesting that we have a third motion and a second?
I just wanted clarification on how you envisioned it working, because if you wanted to, if you say emergency only, it implies that other sick time and vacation time maybe would not be allowed, versus if you said the clerk's designee and left it silent, then it's understood that she's generally expected to attend.
Then we would have to specify each thing, because we would not want it to be just because she did not want to attend or was tired or something of that. So under special circumstances, we would change that in an emergency, except under special approved circumstances. Could that be the wording for it? Her absence would have to be approved by the city manager. Under certain circumstances, if her absence was approved by the city manager for vacation, sick leave, and what was the other one?
Emergencies.
And emergencies. Under those three items,
You could do that.
then I will change it to be those in emergency, sick leave, or vacation.
Okay. All right. Pardon?
Just amend the motion. You haven't had a secondary motion, then you have to amend the first motion. And then if you have to agree to amending the first motion, then you can call for a second, then we can vote.
Well, no, so we can vote on the secondary motion, and then the final. And so, as for, we have a motion and a second on the secondary. So, all in favor? I'm sorry, I was looking the wrong way. Okay, all right, it is unanimous.
Can I ask who is taking notes this evening, since we have a
We
second?
haven't
meeting
voted on the first motion, Mayor.
Okay, all right, and so, as the first motion, let's go ahead. We have a motion and a second on the initial motion. And so all in favor? We have 4 in favor.
I think there's some confusion. So we already approved the extenuating circumstances. The original motion had
Was
nothing to do
never
with it.
voted on.
The original motion is contingent upon the secondary motion.
Okay.
So we had to approve the secondary
Gotcha.
to approve
So that makes it unanimous.
Okay, so we're unanimous. All right.
And I would like the clarification, who is taking the minutes for tonight, and who took them for last meeting, since we have been denied our city clerk?
We got video, and myself and Julie are taking this.
My understanding is the video did not start till past halfway last time.
The video started 10 minutes before the meeting, it stopped, and for some reason it restarted.
It didn't really have anything until after item 16. So how are we, who's taking notes?
Myself, Julie, and the video came up.
Well, not the video cameras.
All right. Okay. Regular agenda, item 4. Consider and take any action necessary regarding authorizing the mayor to sign a resolution to certify local funding and support of the Van Alstyne Shared Use Path Phase 2. Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we do not authorize the mayor to sign a resolution to certify funding for the Van Alstyne Shared Use Path, and that we withdraw from the program.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Oh, yes, I'm sorry, I always forget that. Any discussion? Did you have some discussion?
This may or may not. Is that on?
Yes.
Okay. The issues were addressed and I think were valid, supported that it was not properly presented right. That there is not any clarification as to the actual costs involved in it. But I would like to say that it was, I think it's a good plan. I think it's good that the school is contributing to it to offset the, what was the EDC's participation in it. I think it would be good to have that part of the plan, phase 2, that goes to the elementary school, that links it from phase 1 to phase 2. As far as the other phases, those are yet to be seen and ironed out. I mean, I'm looking at the map, I'm having a hard time following exactly where those are going to go and how they're going to get there. But I do feel like that this one would be good for the elementary school students that live close to the new development that's going in. It also says in there that funding of that phase 2 would not occur in fiscal year 2017 or 2018. Earliest would be 2019, which I believe it's going to take that amount of time to get the school built and to get the development done. And I realize we can't obligate a future council, but I do think it's a good idea to have that plan in place. So, take that as it is.
Is there any more discussion? All right. Let's see now. The motion is to deny my authorization to sign the resolution. And I believe we have a second. Yes, we do have a second. So all in favor of the denial of my authorization to sign the resolution? All in favor? All right, we have 1, 2, 3 that are in favor of the denial. All in favor of, or all opposed to that? Okay, we have 2 opposed, and so the authorization to sign the resolution is denied. All right, item number 5, consider and take any action necessary regarding the process for city to release funds to the VA CDC, our Community Development Corporation. Let's see, and does anyone want to speak on that issue?
This is the same process we outlined for the EDC, is that correct? Just wanted everybody to hear that.
So could you explain to the audience what that process is so that we'll all be on the same page?
Who has ownership of this thing? Who brought this up? City? Who requested this agenda item?
I think
Why is everybody looking
I think,
around like we
I
have
think you
no
might
idea what
have,
this is?
because we basically, so here's what we were thinking. When we did this process for the EDC, we outlined a time frame, and then we allowed for the ACH. This is the exact same process. It's just on the CDC side because the motion originally last meeting was specific to the EDC, so we had to bring it back around this time to make it to where the CDC
So did
is
you
now.
put the agenda item on it?
I did not, no ma'am.
That's what I'm asking. Who requested the agenda item?
I
Why is
think-
everybody looking
I believe
around?
that- I believe that you did when we.
I did not request this agenda item.
Well, regardless of who requested the agenda item, I think it is important that we do our funding and send our checks out uniformly to one organization and do it the same to the other organization. And if you want to ensure that, then you get it in black and white in writing. So I think we really need to adopt the same procedure for EDC and CDC in the manner in which they electronically receive their checks, if I've got that correct.
I believe whenever we were discussing it at the last meeting, we wanted to do both the EDC and the CDC at the same time, but we're not allowed to because the agenda item just said the EDC.
Okay, I'm
So that's-
absolutely fine with this. It's just the fact that we're all looking at each other like, who the heck put this on there? I'm like, seriously? We have an agenda item that nobody knows where it came from.
Well, I think it came from the discussion at the last meeting.
I think it was understood direction from council.
Since we have no minutes, I don't know.
Well, since nobody wants to take credit for it, it's a real good idea. So maybe we all should just take credit for it. We'll have done something good. I make a motion that we adopt the same procedure for the CDC checks to be electronically dispersed, and it be the same procedure that we have for the EDC.
I
Second,
have to
second.
restate that, by the way, since I don't know if we have minutes from last time, and I don't know that we have a recording from last time. So I believe we said within 2 business days, electronically dispersed.
Yes, within 2 business days of our receipt. Now our receipt of the funds, our sales and use tax allocation doesn't come on the same day of the month. But when we do receive the funds, then the intent is within 2 days of the receipt of the funds, then we'll
The
send the money
electronic
electronically.
transfer.
2 business days, electronically transferred.
Yes, 2 business days. All
Was
right.
that your motion, Teddy?
Yes, that it be the same as the EDC, and that's what we have for them.
And we have a second. Okay.
All in favor? Okay, it is unanimous. All right, item number 6. Consider and take any action regarding downtown parking.
I'm sure that there are some business people here who would be interested in discussing this issue, as you don't have to have filled out a form to discuss something that is on the agenda. And I'll start it by saying this. The downtown parking has concerned me for quite some time. We have businesses that are coming and going, And there's nothing worse than having a business and your customers not having anywhere to park, or that they're quite a distance from your business. Let's face it, we can go to the exercise meetings all day, but we want to park in front of where we're going. We don't want to walk 3 blocks. Also, there are people who are handicapped that need special parking and have special needs. We have a lot of businesses going in. We want to be business friendly, but we also want to provide for your customers. One of the things that really concerns me, and this may never happen, but if you're not aware of it, the railroad right-of-way across the street from the businesses on Main Street, that's privately owned. If they decide to sell that, where are those customers going to park that are at the, I've forgotten the name of the restaurant, where Whistle Stop was, or the yellow Sunflower. You know, you've got to have a place to park. And if that goes, and we have customers downtown, where are they going to park? You've got restaurants need places for people to park. Right now, we have 3 restaurants and a coffee shop downtown alone. Now, if your restaurant is a good one, and I assure you, we've got good ones, you're gonna need some good parking. And we have new businesses that are going in and businesses that are for sale. Where are these customers going to park? Especially at noon or at 6 o'clock or in the evening. You've got to have parking for downtown. So I would really like to hear from any business owner that is here that is concerned about parking. Is there anyone here, or am I the only one?
Well, I have one. I believe, oh, well, Al, okay.
I'm going to follow him, actually.
Okay, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Al, go ahead.
What are you guys going to do about it?
I just gave you a speech, Al.
I know, but what's going to be done? That's my question. How long the business is going to live without parking?
We need to provide some city parking. We only have one city parking lot, and that is behind Buck's North Barbecue, and that's taken up by city employees already. So that's one restaurant. You have a restaurant across the street. It's going to be a Mediterranean restaurant. There are 2 more businesses that are going to be opening up across the street from you. Then we have your new Mexican restaurant. And then there are other businesses that also have customers.
Correct.
We have a dance studio that in the evening. Yes. So they need parking for those. So to me, this is a real issue. I don't know if it's a council issue or a CDC issue. I think the CDC just got some extra money in their budget. Am I supposed to say that? Anyway.
And I think to answer your question too, we are going through the comprehensive plan, we're revisiting it for the CBD. So I would expect that that should be a part of that discussion. That's my expectations. I'm still not sure exactly what is contracted for with that revision, but it will be coming to the citizens. It's going through some steps right now with EDC, CDC. But it should be making its way around to everybody, and parking should be a part of that. I would expect, but I have not had but one conversation on that so far.
But Al, by your question, I know that you realize that the land just isn't there right now. It's all occupied, and so your question, there's no good solution right now. And the best shot that we have probably is with planning that we have coming up. But I don't think anyone up here is going to be able to take any action on anything tonight. It's easy to see, easy to recognize that it's a big problem.
How about that lot on the end of my street on Marshall that the chamber owns, right next to the courthouse?
Something to talk with the chamber about, yeah, because they own some of that property.
Correct. CDC, you just said CDC has money.
It's a possibility. I mean, we
Can it be
can talk with
designated
them
for
about it.
downtown? Can it be designated for, not just my business, for every business on the street?
I don't think I can promise you that right now,
Okay.
but it's something that can be talked about.
Does the city have any plan, like when a new business comes in, they figure out what kind of business before they say, okay, I'm gonna have 50 cars today parked on the street and block the street? Do we have a plan to go on? Do we have anything, or just?
There's no
fishing
plan,
permit?
we're not able to designate parking for certain businesses because there's still not enough room for everybody. It's a real difficult, it's a huge issue.
I mean, sooner or later, downtown's gonna die. Because
Well,
of no parking.
I don't know, but.
Because I can live on 2-3 parking, so is my neighbor, so is my other neighbor.
Yeah, but we don't know what businesses are gonna open or close. We don't know what parking might be freed up. I mean, it's just hard to say right now. It's obviously a problem. We're gonna have to deal with it. The sooner the better, but I don't know how to make any promises to you
Well, I don't
today
need a
as to
promise,
just
I need
what we're gonna do.
solutions. You know, promises
Well,
don't
we
pay
all
my
do.
bills.
Sure we do, yeah.
And I think he's asking for action, which I would be asking for, what is an action that the city's gonna take?
That's what I'm asking.
All I'm aware of is the CBD, but I think they're very valid questions, and I have not heard an answer from the city to say what action they're gonna provide you with, which is, who's gonna talk to the chamber? I don't know, what's the process, who does it?
Because, I called the city and I asked, and they said, they can't talk to CDC or EDC because they're two separate
They
entities.
can't talk to
Well,
them?
not can't talk to them, lack of English, but they not, it's not their, I guess, their job, they're not in charge of them, I'm not sure,
Well, there are a few lots.
in town, yes.
Yes.
The church owned the lot on Fulton, chamber owns on the end of the street, we can fix the parking like Diamond have, I mean, it can be designated, but if we can't park it, we're gonna lose downtown. We have a heck of a downtown for just the 3-4 parkings and people leave. I mean, I've been here 17 years in Mount Alstyne, I like the state, but I can't live on 2-3 parking a day.
Now,
Yes, sure.
there are a couple of businesses downtown that have ample parking after hours, after they're closed.
Sure.
I'll be happy to talk to them about maybe putting a sign up saying Romano's customers welcome here.
We'll appreciate that.
Okay, and as I sit on the CDC board, I'll be glad to talk to the CDC board. And, until the city can find a solution, I'll be glad to talk to any way I can.
Can CDC talk to the chamber?
Sure, I'm on chamber board too.
Oh,
I'll talk to them also.
Okay, so I'll be ready to give visit tomorrow, Mr. Jessica.
All right.
Well, I know, I also believe we've got an old lumber yard over here that would make an excellent parking lot. Also, there is the Methodist Church owns part of a lot. They are very community-minded. It might be that somebody could work out a share plan with them in that they meet on Sunday. We eat 7 days, so 6 days, Al's open 6 days a week, but maybe that if we worked with them, that we could use part of their parking lot through the week when they were not having activities, or maybe even the employees could use it, and they would not be parking on the street in front of, they would have, you've got to provide not just for customers, but what about your employees that come to work? Where are they going? So, I don't know, I'll give the floor to this man right here.
I don't really have that much to say about it. I really came forward to defend me and my wife's business. You guys obviously know you have an issue there. I've got 78 students that are at the studio right now, signed up, plus the parents. So you take that number times 2. Al's probably wondering, where's all my parking spots, because I'm taking them all for one reason.
But you need parking spaces also.
Absolutely, so that's the problem. We all need
Everybody's
parking
in the
spots.
same boat.
We're all in the same boat, and as you said, you've got Jafar's that's already coming. There's 2 more buildings there that are empty. Who knows what's going in there, but there's going to be businesses that need parking. I went and looked around it today, kind of think of what's our options here. There isn't a whole lot of options. The building directly across from us that was falling down that they fixed the face of. Who owns that? Can that be torn down and a parking lot put there? I have no idea. For immediate help, can we get signs in front of Al's business, in front of our business that say, There's additional parking at the end of the road. There's additional parking at IGA just to give the people. I mean, I come up here all the time and what you see is people circling around, waiting to get those spots. And in a restaurant business, you know where those people are going after they circle around a couple times?
No, somewhere else.
Out of town.
We lose you lose sales tax, and that's what the city lives on. And that's how I live. You know, he needs parking, I need parking, but I think it's a city job where they need to designate parking. Every city, McKinney, Allen, Prosper, any city, they designate parking lots for downtown. You know, I don't know how many city lots owns around downtown. Buy it, make it to a parking lot. Because as we grow, people moving in, we like it or not, people coming in down Alstyne. We need to give them someplace to go. But if we keep telling them to drive out of town, downtown will die.
Well, I'm not sure what the city owns that would be practical for you. I mean, part of the problem is it's all private property and the city can't force people.
Oh, we know, I'm asking
Mr.
the
Jaska
board.
is-
I'm loving for business to come in.
Mr. Jaska is talking about talking to CDC, the chamber, to see what could be freed up. That's the kind of cooperation it's going to take. And I don't know, you know, well, we can't force private property owners to provide parking, but we can ask for cooperation and help.
And that's all we need. That's all I'm asking.
Mr. Klum?
What about, wasn't the city gonna move the public works out somewhere else? I mean, that would make an echo parking lot over there, right?
That's in the budget to move it out to the 17 acres the city owns east of Payne.
That's what I thought, I mean, just a thought, I mean, that would be an excellent parking lot for downtown.
That's not gonna help.
It is,
That's still
however,
possible.
there's still
It's not gonna help.
something that's up in the air is where we're going to put new city services buildings, and so we're not sure about that yet either. So a permanent solution to the parking problem, I just can't make promises, but we can ask people for cooperation and help. That's something we want.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Start with striping, we can't hear you. I'm Paul Nobles, I own the coffee shop right here. I'll speak louder. So a couple quick suggestions. One would be, let's paint the stripes, right? Because we don't have any stripes, so everybody's parking like, you know, wherever they want, so that limits the parking, obviously. That'd be the very first suggestion, easy fix, a couple $100 in paint, I don't know how much it costs, but whatever. Have it done professionally though, that would be my, you know, not just, you know, some of the guys out there painting it, but just get a line striper to bring in the right kind of paint. I mean, I've got a client that's a line striper, they use high quality paint, lasts at least 3-4 years, so that would be my first suggestion. The second suggestion, absolutely go, you know, check with the chamber or even try to partner. And I've already talked to Jeff a little bit about that lot, you know, with and they have enough trouble at the courthouse parking already, so that's out of the question. Lorna, who owned the Whistle Stop Cafe, she still owns that property in front of it, and I think she's also a client of mine. Probably could ask her if she would even sell that to the city. I'm sure she really doesn't really want it, but again, you know, we talked about kind of creating a parking lot, charging some of the other guys, you know, put a sign up, that sort of thing, came into resistance on that. But then my third suggestion for sure would be, you know, where the rail cars are not doing anything, let's just maybe build a little parking lot right there at the end of Al Street. Super simple. I mean, they're not doing anything with that. They're never going to do anything with that. We're pretty clear on that. I mean, there's where the parking lot ends of the courthouse. I've talked to Jeff about it. It's actually quite a bit farther over than it looks. All that dirt area is all our or chamber property, right? So one cool thing the chamber could do is create a parking lot. Good idea. And we could say they did something.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? So, could y'all not put some kind of ordinance or some kind of permit in place that would allow businesses like Al or Shannon or any of us to pay a fee to be able to put 3 signs up or 4 signs up in front of our businesses that say, you know, Romano's parking only or Curious Coffee Co. parking only? But we pay for those spots. If I had to pay a permit fee to be able to put 3 signs up directly in front of my shop to where those are my customers parking, I would pay for it.
Back on
Just
that.
a temporary
When you
fix.
think about that, and I'm not trying to be bad, but you've got to, the business on the corner does not have customers, if I understand it correct. She does everything on the internet or something. But you have you and 2 other businesses. So we're talking about 9 parking spaces there. I don't think there's room for 9.
I don't think my business personally, because my business sits on a TxDOT road, which I don't think y'all can do anything about anyways. But I'm just using that as an example. Can we not put something in place where, especially Marshall, which is very congested, and you can't
Okay,
even
you have a
drive.
business on one side of aisle, you have a business on the other side of aisle, and on the other side of that, you have another business. So when you have 1, 2, 3, 4
Yeah.
businesses, you don't have enough, there's not enough parking for 3, 3, 3, 3. So when you say, okay, for instance, Al gets 2 parking places. Okay, the place on the corner gets 2, Al gets 2. The next one, it won't even be in front of her store. It will be further down because you've already taken up the first 4 parking places. So you've got a problem with that too.
Yeah, I think you're back to the original problem if you have designated spots, because if you have 3 spots for Romano's, those 3 spots are taken. Well, if those other spots are designated, then you're sending your patrons around the corner. So, we have some of these other parking solutions that have been talked about, really, you need proximity. And so, when we're talking about change of property, I don't know if that's something they'd be willing to partner with us on. I don't know if they'd be willing to partner with the CDC, but the question's there, it's worth asking.
They're all business-minded people. I don't think they'll have a problem.
Well, then we
with
have
this.
a representative.
Yes.
So,
They're all pro.
give him a call.
I will, definitely. I'm gonna see him personally, ain't no problem.
So, you said some of the places that would make great parking are privately owned. Maybe just for a temporary fix, is there any way we could lease? Like go to the owner and lease?
Well,
it? If it's just
there's several ways you can purchase. You can lease, you might do a share, but whatever is the right way, it certainly should be investigated. And since Robert is on both boards and we'll be bringing it before them, then we'll see where it goes from there.
One other thing, I did, Paul's idea of the stripes, I did call the street people, the Public Works a while back, and asked about striping, because a few years ago, they did stripe. They also took away parking spaces when they did that. But he informed me that there would be no striping for like 3 years because they want to redo the streets. And he said that whatever kind of material is down on our streets right now would not hold the paint. I'm just throwing that. That's what I was told when I called. But striping would be great because I think a lot of people don't realize that that's actually parking spaces over by Diamond facing the old feed store, also the side of the old hardware store. There's all those stripes are gone, and like I think Bill said, people just sort of pull in any which way and park.
Frank, can we not stripe, even though we know it's not going to last forever? But if that,
I check with Public Works Director.
thank you, that would be very nice.
The city of Van Alstyne has an $800 striping machine. It was purchased several years ago. The city has the piece of equipment necessary.
I'd be curious too, I'm just throwing this out there, because when Paul said something about striking, made me think of something. The parking spots are huge too. So even if you save a foot or two with each spot, you could maybe pick up a few spots that way. I don't know what the law is as far as how big the space has to be, but we all have big vehicles. Those parking spots are pretty wide. You might be able to pick up a little bit, a couple spots if you were to, I don't know or is it 8 foot, is it 10 foot, I don't know what it is, but if you strike them and you strike them at a closer area, you can pick up some ground.
Thank you.
Can I ask Frank a question? Frank, if we were to put up signs that say, you know, Romano's welcome here, or Abbey Lane welcome here. We're not gonna have any kind of a sign ordinance problem, are we?
So that's going to be more of a legal question on what we can and can't do with public parking. I mean, is that?
I mean, it would be probably placed on the building that the spots are in front of. You know, we run into.
We have to designate so many handicap spots, but as far as designating for specific businesses, I don't know if we can do that.
But you mean like in the private lots or?
Yeah,
Designate.
like hypothetical, because I haven't asked permission yet. If on one of the bank buildings, we were to put a sign that says, downtown parking, welcome here after 6 PM. You know, if we say, we welcome Romano's, we welcome Abbey Lane, we welcome whoever, there was a sign ordinance problem that you can't have another business's name on your business. We're not gonna have any problem like that, are we?
Well, if it did violate the current ordinance, you would certainly have the power to amend that ordinance to accommodate those type of signs.
That could really turn into a problem if I said, so-and-so is welcome here. Well, somebody else might say, well, why aren't my customers welcome here too? So you can see where that could really cause some problems by specifying which businesses customers were welcome at.
Maybe we could just put all downtown business parking lot.
Or non-banking business, non-banking customers welcome after 6 p.m.
Okay.
Ask for action. I don't know if this is an action item other than to start talking with people, as Mr. Jaska said he'd do. So we'll just see what we can do. It's obvious we just need to free up more spaces, more area. All right. Then, without taking any action, shall we move on to item number 7? Okay. And I don't know if we have to take a vote to postpone any action on this, on item 6, or if we just move on.
No.
Okay, we'll just move on. Item number 7, consider and take any action necessary regarding an agenda request from Lynn Adams to repeal ordinance number 781 and eliminate the rotation list for wrecker services. Ms. Adams?
As you say, I'm Lynn Adams, and honestly, after much lengthy discussion with the chief, it's just not beneficial to our city in any way to have an ordinance. We went through months and hours of everyone's time who was currently here, which is Mr. Cluck and Mr. Jaska. Honestly, it was a personal vengeance. It's the only reason the ordinance ever was created. It doesn't benefit our city in any way. So there's just honestly no reason for it. It's a waste of our personnel that works for our police department. So honestly, the ordinance that was in place currently, the 636, was working. So lack of better explanation, there's no need for it. It doesn't benefit us in any way. There's not any other additional companies that came to town for us creating the ordinance. Other small cities around here, no one has this type of ordinance with these strict implications besides us, honestly. So my request is to completely repeal that ordinance, and if we do feel an ordinance needs to still be in place, because I do think whether it's me for the rest of my life or someone else, we do need standards. Our police department does need regulations for who's providing services for them, as well as our citizens. So the ordinance, the previous ordinance 636 had all those, rules and regulations listed. That was beneficial to our city. So I don't know if you, anyway, that was my original request. I don't have a copy of it for you. It wasn't listed online anymore.
That's all right. I think we all got to look at it. And the big thing for me with abandoning the old ordinance and adopting the new was the old ordinance pretty much mandated a monopoly, and I just I still have problems with the government, with the city government creating a monopoly. Now I understand.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it doesn't create a monopoly, because there was always a primary, a secondary, a third, and the original ordinance does state that it was never a monopoly.
I read the ordinance completely. I don't have a problem with the new ordinance. when you talk about the rotating system, there are specifications in here that if there is a second towing service and they turn down or don't show up, then they can be eliminated. And as we are growing, we really need rules and regulations, and these are really good rules and regulations mostly. I do have some a couple of things on this ordinance that the storage facility, everything has to be it says vehicle storage facility means a garage parking lot located within the city limits. However, you go somewhere else and it says within 7 miles of the city, you have to have it licensed. I think it's a good thing to have things licensed, but it also says the chief of police shall suspend, revoke, or deny permits as authorized by this chapter. And if they refuse to, if a towing service refuses 3 times, they're automatically out anyway. So if they're not complying with this, it really doesn't matter. The only problem I have with this ordinance is on page 8, where it says that we should adhere to the fees set forth in this city's schedule of fees. Well, I've been through every page. There is no schedule of fees. And I think if your car's going to be towed, we really need that.
The schedule of fees is according to the state law. So the state law makes a maximum private party towing of $255. So I questioned that after last year.
But it needs to be included in
And it's
this.
not in the ordinance, but that's what.
And
they're
nobody
referring to.
knows that. But I really think it sets the time they should come. It really goes into great details about how that in the past, not everybody has been able to designate where they want their car towed to. This makes sure you're going to have your car towed wherever you want it done.
Well, only on non-consent
There are
tows.
a
You're not
lot
allowed
of
to choose.
there are a lot of things in this ordinance that I think are excellent, and I think with a growing town, we really need this ordinance.
Okay, well, just a little background of the company who requested this filled out a permit and retracted immediately. They never provided one service for the city. So
But that's fine,
unfortunately-
they're not included in this anymore.
Right, and
So it doesn't affect them, but there may be others that move into town and we have no ordinance for it. So even if we just have one, it would not apply to you until there was someone else who moved into town. This ordinance wouldn't make a difference, but it has some very good rules in it.
Right, and the previous ordinance had the same rules, because most of those are the rules set forth by the state, and everyone has to be licensed to be, to operate in the state. So most of those come from the state ordinances.
Well, if they're
or
the same,
statutes.
then why do we need to do away with this one?
Just because this causes a lot, just this ordinance being specific of allowing 3 companies, which we don't have.
We don't have, so it's
We
not
don't-
effective right now.
Right, but in the future, it could be effective, and it just causes,
But if we're gonna have more people moving into town and more businesses, we need something in place to handle that when they do come. But that's just mine.
And I guess I don't totally understand, what's wrong with the current one. I understand.
it just causes so many more steps of, just because the dispatch has to keep up with who was called next, who's gonna be called again. No one ever knows. So Pronto, I've owned that company since 2011. I know there's many misbeliefs that I created this just because of this ordinance. I've owned this company for 5 years. And I am the sole owner. I have the right to operate. I'm licensed. And so just according to the chief of police, after we met had a meeting, it just causes more work for his dispatchers. It causes more work for multiple more calls to come to the city of who has my car. And half the time, no matter what, they're calling Adams because even when someone gets out of jail, no one acknowledges the city has more than one tow company because no one
So
around
you
here
have
does.
separate tow trucks than Adams?
Correct, I am a sole owner, I have a sole complete address.
Well, we have 2, should that not be rotating?
Right, so we are choosing to go back to primary and secondary, is what the previous ordinance stated. That is my request to repeal this ordinance and to reinstate the previous ordinance.
But the only difference so far I'm hearing is that the police department has some extra logs to keep track of.
Just everyone, honestly. It's just not, I mean, just because it's so.
You get called the same amount of blood. I mean, for you, it doesn't really matter.
Well, I get called by the police department, correct, but I mean, the insurance companies are having trouble finding where it's going. So my problem is, and what we'd like to prevent in the future, is just doing what's best for our police officers and getting them off the streets. If you have another person who just thinks, I want to start at the business, we're not providing the best services because someone thought they should buy 2 tow trucks and open a company. So our job is to provide the best service for our law enforcement to get customers handled off of the street. So versus next year, what if someone just comes in here and says, oh, I have 2 tow trucks again? And then what if we leave because we're not satisfied that no one supported us and that company never provided one service for our city? Again, they want an ordinance in place, but then they didn't do their part. They didn't do their job. So what if in return we didn't apply for this?
Well, and I can
Our city would
understand
be
that's
waiting on a
really
company to come for
frustrating.
25 and 30 minutes away.
Yeah.
Our highway would be shut down twice as long as those companies are busy. And honestly, if there's not another company in one of our bigger cities that, I mean, honestly, we have maybe 1 call a week, unless there's an extra wreck. So it's not that someone's coming here to make money. I mean, they're not going to designate 2 trucks to the city. And I mean, Anna has 1 company, Hal has 1 company, Gunner, Tom Bean, White Rock. McKinney only has 3 companies at their size. So why is it that primary and secondary shouldn't work for Van Alstyne?
And there would be less paperwork if we did a primary and secondary.
Right, well, it's just been keeping up with the rotation, and I don't know what all it tells on his side. That was just the wording I was giving.
I'd like to ask a question. It is my understanding, I just want to get confirmation from you on this, since Officer Barnes isn't here, since Chief Barnes isn't here, that it really is causing an undue burden on our police force.
She's telling the truth. Yes, sir.
Well, it wasn't a matter of whether she was telling the truth, I just wanted to have
it's
On 1
cooperation.
call a week?
On
She
the-
just said there was about 1 call a week.
I understand the rotation and.
Well, I don't have the statistics. I was probably being a little facetious there.
And I don't have the statistics.
We don't have daily calls or 10 calls a night.
Lynn's correct. It is causing more work for the dispatchers, more work for the officers. The companies that are operating for the city are in compliance. It's not as if things are going to be overlooked. It's just going back to a primary and a secondary makes it a better solution for not just the vendor, but also the city.
So I first want to thank Lynn for bringing this back up a year later. We put the new ordinance in place, we've given it some time. Now we have a chance to readdress it, look at it for any sort of changes, amendments, or just to throw the thing out the window. So I appreciate you doing that. I originally voted for the current ordinance.
Yes.
And the whole point in my logic was I wanted to open it up to as many businesses as I could. Well, we have the same vendors as we've had, so.
Yeah, for 11
That-
years in
yeah.
one of our companies. And
The same-
But we are a growing community.
And I agree with you, Ms. Teddy, we are.
But Anna has surpassed us 4 times as much probably, and their police department still uses 1 provider.
Right, and kind of where I'm going with it is, we need to balance practicality with what's really happening out there. What's really happening is it's the same company regardless of what we have in the ordinance. So why not us simplify it for our administration, for our police staff to be able to, more effectively do their job. So that's kind of where I come from on that.
If this is exactly the same thing as it is in the other ordinance with that 1 specification, why would you not just change that 1 specification in this ordinance?
Oh, I
Instead
may
of-
have made a mistake on that, ma'am. I wasn't sure.
think-
So,
yes.
yeah, I could say, so my request is to eliminate the rotation record service, and but it was mentioned multiple times throughout there, and the previous ordinance didn't, and so I may have, that may be my error. I'm not sure on the legal.
So there are
legality
some
part of it.
excellent things in this, and even.
It holds everyone to a higher standard, definitely.
Yes, it does hold you to a higher standard than the old ordinance. So why do you just, if that's the only thing that really bothers you, why are you not just requesting that 1 thing? Because I don't think all of this is identical to the other ordinance, and it does hold you to a higher
It does, and it's very
standard.
much more specific, and I can,
And it is more
I can
specific
retract my.
and very understandable.
Yes, And so I can motion or whatever legality wording you need to say, so my.
Recommendation.
Yeah, so it's that we want just primary and secondary, and that would be, and everyone would still
That we
have to.
amend this
Yes, ma'am.
to only have primary and secondary, not the rotation.
And that's the
But
nuts and
keep
bolts
the rest of it in place,
Yes, ma'am.
because it is a higher standard and we do need that for our citizens.
And while I do agree with the bones of the new ordinance and trying to allow for more business, allow for more opportunity, clearly market standards have not dictated that. We're just not there yet.
So is there any further discussion, or do I make a motion?
Anyone have anything? So go ahead with the motion.
I will make a motion that we amend ordinance number 781 to eliminate the rotation process, and in place of it, place primary 1 and primary 2 at this time.
A primary and a secondary.
Oh, I said primary 1 and 2, primary and a secondary, either way.
Okay.
May I ask a clarification on that motion? Do you want the new ordinance brought back to the next regular meeting to vote on, or you just want the changes made and you're authorizing the mayor to sign? the
I'm just saying
based on the
these
motion?
these changes should be made, but nothing else changed in this. However, I will add one thing to it. This ordinance should have a list of the fees attached to it, even though it is a state thing, but you should always know what you're going to pay. So I would like to see a list of those fees that it refers to through the ordinance attached to it.
I believe that at the same meeting, my memory's working, that this ordinance was approved. There was a second ordinance that adopted the fees.
So do we need to bring that ordinance back?
I would like to see it
Why
come back.
can't we just list the fees with this ordinance, even though we have a second ordinance?
We
To
can put it
verify
all
it.
in one.
Because, if you come in and you want an ordinance according to this, and it keeps referring to all these fees, but there are no fees attached, just attention.
So when non-consent towing rates are available from every company in the state of Texas, they have to provide them to someone. So the fees that we adopted last time the ordinance was the maximum for a towing charge is what the city would be. I mean, that's what they have regulation over.
Whatever it is referred to a number of times in this ordinance, and it says fees set forth in the city's schedule of fees.
Yeah, and it's not there. I
And
have an
it is
email where I
not
requested
there.
them, and that's what was my response.
And
was
you
they were-
should know.
Yeah. But I was just specifying that fee is only, from the city, that's only the max, they can set a maximum towing charge is what it was how the fee schedule should read. That's not listed, I believe.
All right, so I think we have a motion to amend ordinance number 781.
Second.
Now,
Are we amending it or bringing it back next week?
that was.
We're just amending it to remove the rotation and putting it as the primary and secondary, and attaching that list of the most you can be charged, and it should state, these are the maximums.
I'm
Or
still
sec-
unclear, because I
seconded.
thought the question was, I don't have a problem with the motion, it's that, does she make those changes and bring it back, or are we authorizing the mayor to approve it without it coming back? But if you want to see the fees, I would assume, Teddy Ann, you want it to come back, so you can see
That
it.
would be fine.
Okay.
All right. We have a motion and a second. For final approval, we're going to see it one more time though at the next council meeting.
It would be eligible to be on consent because you already had your discussion of this motion.
All right. Any more discussion? All right, all in favor? have 3 in favor, all opposed. 1 opposed.
I didn't get my hand up.
Oh, I saw your hand. Susan, all right. Okay, so we have 4 in favor and 1 opposed, and so the motion carries to amend ordinance number 781 and add as an appendix or whatever the fee schedule.
Thank you for your time.
Right. Now that's all for the regular agenda. The next item will be an executive session. Let's see, now, I'm going to read this thing in its entirety, and then we will recess from the regular agenda. Executive session. In accordance with Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, Open Meetings Law, in parentheses, the City Council may meet in a closed executive session pursuant to applicable laws. Item number 8, all items below for executive session. Pursuant to the following designated sections of the Texas Government Code annotated in subchapter 551, the council will enter into executive session to discuss the following items. A, section 551.074, in parentheses, personnel matters to deliberate appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal. Close parentheses. For providing directives to the city manager based on results of 2017 annual evaluation. In 8B, section 551.071, in parentheses, consultation with attorney on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the city council under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the State Bar of Texas conflict with the Open Meetings Act, close parentheses, regarding I, in parentheses, or 1, providing directives to the city manager based on results of 2017 annual evaluation, and 2, in parentheses, city manager's contract and performance. And so we're going to, the time is 8:20 p.m. and we are going to recess the open meeting and go into executive session. Frank, are we going to be able to use the
Yes, sir.
the room there? All right then. No one has to leave, though this may be lengthy. You don't have to stay, whatever you feel like doing. But we'll adjourn the regular session at this time, and I expect to go into executive session at 8:30 p.m.
Before you leave, we don't have council comments, but I do have something I want to say, and Jim Anderson is here. He really perked up. I woke him up standing at the back. But if you didn't read the Alstyne leader, and you don't apply for the P&Z, there must be something wrong, because they wrote the best thing, wanting a new member that I have read in a long time, and it starts out, if you are interested in serving the community, please consider applying to serve on the Planning and Zoning Commission, which has one opening. This is what should be our standards for wanting people to apply to our boards. And Jim, you have my compliments. It is an excellent article that you have put in the paper, even though you put it in double. Thank you. She did good.
All right, we adjourned the executive session at 10:56 p.m. The time is now 11:01 p.m. and we are reconvening the open meeting. No action was taken during the executive session, and there are no votes to be taken now. The next item then is adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor? Unanimous. All right, we are adjourned. We are adjourned to the city council.